Which skill position player proved worthy of a big contract this week? Which teams disappointed? Find out on this week's episode of Winners and Losers. Hi guys, I'm Chase Keller and welcome to the week 2 episode of Winners and Losers. If you're new to the channel, in this series I go over a player winner, player loser, team winner, team loser, and question mark of each week. I won't keep you all for much longer. Let's dive into the player winner of the week. I was tempted to go with the quarterback who has yet to lose a regular season game. I'm sure you can guess who it is, but I didn't end up going with him. Instead, the contract-desperate Mike Evans is the player winner of week 2. In a period where he has surprisingly yet to receive a contract from Tampa, he absolutely showed off and showed why he is a potential top 10 wide receiver. His final stat line consisted of 6 receptions for 171 yards and 2 touchdowns. Evans got open deep on so many occasions, with 4 of his 6 receptions going for 20+ yards, 3 of them being 30+ yards, and his longest being a 70-yarder that was stopped just short of the goal line. Evans put phenomenal route running, spatial awareness, and contested catch instincts all throughout this matchup. And while it may have been against the Chicago Bears secondary, he did what he needed to and showed that the Buccaneers will lose an elite X receiver if they refuse to sign him. Let's look at some of the film here, beginning with this first reception of the day where his fantastic route running comes into play. Great play by Dave Canales here, but getting Mayfield and Evans on the same page was all he really needed. Evans is going to run a 20-yard curl route with details here and there that make this route beautiful. 10 yards deep, he fakes an out route beautifully to get Stevenson on his hip. His next break is the curl, where he gets Stevenson on his ass and perfectly connects with Mayfield. Elite route and elite connection here. This second clip here, it's almost the same exact formation except Rachaad White lines up in the slot instead of as a single back. This time, Evans comes in for a vertical and then pokes out to a fade, beating Tyreek Stevenson in a defense where it looks like he has no clue what he's doing. Great spatial awareness here by Evans to break free and beat Stevenson yet again. On this final play, it doesn't matter what routes are run and what coverage the Bears blew here, but the yak from Evans is what got me. First, he shows his spatial awareness on both the grab and the spin, and he is able to tiptoe down the line in order to gain 36 yards. This was a phenomenal prove-it game from Mike Evans, and he actually showed more than he needed to and more than he normally does. For that reason, Mike Evans is the player winner of week 2. Moving into the player loser here, there is a trend every year where one of the best running backs in the league ends up having a bust year the next year, so it's no surprise that last year's rushing leader Josh Jacobs lands on this list. I gave him a pass for his week 1 performance against Denver. As for his week 2 performance against Buffalo, while the Buffalo run defense did really shine, negative yardage is not normal. So in the grand scheme, 9 rushes for -2 yards is extremely bad. Sure, the Raiders offense just looked lost overall, but Jacobs could have been the worst part of it. He showed terrible vision, subpar physicality, and overall a tendency of running into his own guys. Given that he finally gave in and signed a contract, he doesn't have room to be performing this bad. We've seen this fall off historically with Jonathan Taylor in 2022, Derrick Henry seeing injury in 2021, Christian McCaffrey playing 3 games in 2020. It's just a nasty curse. But still, Jacobs should not be performing this subpar. Let's move into the film here, beginning with his I formation pitch. Sadly, no one accounts for Greg Rousseau and his freak athleticism at the edge position. Where I have an issue is Josh Jacobs hesitating on this run. By hesitating, he does lose some traction off of Rousseau, but he allows for 4 other defenders to catch up. Taquan Jones, Shaq Lawson, Tyrell Dodson, Terrell Bernard, they all catch up to Jacobs here. If Jacobs purely tries to outrun Rousseau, he may gain a few more yards. Instead, he questions his own athleticism and allows for a loss. One other play I want to show right here. Different bunch formation here as they try to get a good first down jump. The Bills send 5, including a blitzing Jordan Poyer, and he forms the first issue on this run. Jacobs proceeds to not notice Poyer at all, presumably looking at the right side to find his hole. But not once does he account for Poyer. Second, instead of following the block, he attempts to make his own hole. While we don't see what happens due to Poyer's tackle, Terrell Bernard had it all covered up, so 2 mistakes here by Jacobs. All in all, rushing for negative yards the year after being a rushing leader is historically bad, and for that reason, Josh Jacobs receives the player loser of the week. Moving on to the team winner of the week, and I will say it was somewhat close. Going with my gut on this one here, but I have to apologize. Atlanta Falcons fans, I'm so sorry for trashing your team in my deep dive on them. The Atlanta Falcons are the team winner of the week this week after they improved to 2-0 by beating a hot Green Bay Packers team 25-24. Atlanta looked sluggish to kick off this game, struggling to keep up with Green Bay, but as the fourth quarter wrapped up, it was clear that the better team came out on top, dominating drive after dominating drive with damn good coaching decisions and play calls. The Falcons scored 13 points in the fourth quarter alone, scoring on all 3 drives outside of the kneel at the end and holding Green Bay to no points. They had possession for nearly 12 of the final 15 minutes as well. Looking into the film here, there were so many fun design play calls that I could point out from the fourth quarter comeback. I chose one on both ends of the ball from this quarter, beginning with this beautifully designed run. In shotgun formation, the Falcons draw up a play action to counter Green Bay rushing 6. Pretty phenomenal call, as the play action is going to get this edge Rashawn Gary to bite and give Ritter the hole he needs. These 2 tight ends on the left are running routes instead of blocking in order to fool these left side defenders and get Ritter in the end zone. 2 plays later, Ryan Nielsen puts together a great defensive play call. Atlanta sees the 2nd and 10 run and rushes 4 outright. These linebackers here, specifically Nate Landman, offer help in the gaps and immediately shut the run down. The next play, A.J. Terrell dropped an interception and forced the Packers to punt to them. Not only was the play calling on point, but the talent showed out all throughout. As I just mentioned, Nate Landman had a pretty good game, but I want to point out Bijan Robinson here, which as a rookie has been putting together some elite vision and elusiveness. Here was a 17-yard run from the fourth quarter where he sheds 3 tackles off the same juke move. While Atlanta only moved up 1 spot in my power rankings this week, they moved up 10 last week. They proved their validity even more this week. Congratulations, Atlanta. And as a Denver Broncos fan, it pains me to make them the team loser of the week. In a game that I thought would be boring, there was adrenaline yet anger that I had watching the game. The Denver Broncos lost to a not-so-good Commanders team 33-35, which should have probably been 27-25 if it wasn't for a pretty lucky yet electric Hail Mary. The Broncos seemingly sacrificed a great defense for a great offense. Now the defense just kind of sucks. I'm not sure if this should be a compliment to Ejiro Evero or an attack on Vance Joseph. Maybe even both. But even the offense had its struggles in this one, and it was a combination of bad Sean Payton play calls and offensive talents making critical mistakes. Let's start with the play calling here. On a crucial 2nd down, Sean Payton puts together a play action where 3 routes are being run in technicality. Against a cover 2 defense with 2-man corners, this play call does not work at all. Both of these receivers are cover heavy, this check down route is blown up immediately, and Wilson is quickly forced to throw it away. This may not seem like a massive deal until you note that Washington was able to get a field goal in after Denver punted 2 plays later. This was a massive momentum shifter from a whack play call. Then there were the talents. Russell Wilson was fantastic to start, but blatantly he lost a lot of his talent later on. On this play, Courtland Sutton runs a semi-lousy comeback route, but what Wilson does on this play couldn't have been any worse. Sutton was his only read the entire time, and not only does he heavily underthrow him, he throws it too far outside, not far enough outside, as you have one of the most raw and lengthy corners in the NFL and Emmanuel Forbes right there to pick it off. The defense had its terrible points as well. Looking at this defensive play here, it's very obvious that edge rusher Thomas Incoom is lined up offsides. Rookie mistake, but he is a rookie, so we'll let it slide for now. But then, the outside corner in Damari Mathis, who up to this point had been burned already in both games, was forced to cover the double move by himself as Justin Simmons plays in the middle. Because of the offsides, Howell takes a deep shot, and it very much paid off as his receiver was wide open. Okay play call, but sloppy play from all 3 players on Denver mentioned here. The Denver Broncos are now 0-2 this season, and sure, while they lost both of their games by 2 points or less, they could be on their way to a top 5 draft pick in 2023. For that reason, the Denver Broncos are the team loser of the week. Finally, I have the question mark of the week. This was a pretty close decision, but it all came down to expectations and history, and of course, confusion. The Kansas City Chiefs are my question mark of the week as they fall to third in my power rankings. The full list is on my Patreon, link in the description below. Actually, let's make that the Kansas City Chiefs offense. The defense has looked pretty damn good in the first 2 games of the season. I can't particularly say the same thing about the offense though. It's hard to have a better leader and signal caller than Patrick Mahomes, but Mahomes hasn't looked like himself these first 2 games. His statistics aren't awful with a 62.5% completion percentage, over 530 passing yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. But his interceptions have been fairly questionable, especially the one that he threw against Detroit. The one against Jacksonville, I'll let it slide. It was a pretty accurate pass, just wasn't a great decision with the fact that a guy was there to pick it off. Mahomes has played well, just not Mahomes-esque level, which makes it a little concerning for this offense. And that doesn't even factor in the questions that the targets have surrounding them. Obviously, he has Travis Kelce, but the wide receiver room, he doesn't have a wide receiver 1 anymore. We don't even know who the wide receiver 1 was going to be. I thought it might be Rashee Rice going forward after Kadarius Toney and Sky Moore both had lackluster week 1s, but look at them. They were the best 2 receivers on Kansas City in week 2. So this offense, in fact, is the question mark of the week. It's a little concerning that they've averaged 18.5 points per game up to this point, and you note that they've played 2 subpar defenses with Detroit and Jacksonville. So for that reason, the Kansas City Chiefs offense is my question mark of the week. Well, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed, please make sure to leave a like and subscribe down below. Every week I put out a winners losers video and a weekly preview video, so if you're not subscribed, you're missing out. Once again, I'm Chase Keller from Chase Keller Journalism, and thank you guys so much for choosing this channel as your source of sports coverage. I'll see you guys in the next video.